Does Cincinnati have a real shot at the college football playoff? They're ranked number 7, but it seems like they are miles away from that top 4. What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We're continuing to break down different college football playoff scenarios that could potentially take place as we close out the season. And for Cincinnati, you look at what they have in front of them. They'll play Tulsa probably twice. That is an opportunity to get a good win on the resume, a solid win. But if Tulsa loses those 2 games, obviously if Cincinnati wins, that's going to knock Tulsa way down. So it's good because they'll get to play Tulsa, but at the same time, they're going to knock Tulsa down and give them a couple of more losses, and that's all of a sudden not going to look as good of a win, which kind of seems crazy, but it is what it is. I think what could really benefit Cincinnati, especially if BYU beats Coastal Carolina this weekend, is if Cincinnati plays BYU next weekend. I believe they both have an open date that Saturday. And if they can play BYU, an undefeated BYU team, and beat them, especially if they're able to beat them by multiple scores, that could really boost that resume and give them an argument to make it into the college football playoff, even without a lot of help. I mean, they would have a really good case if that did in fact happen. But we're going to look at what their path is to actually make it in right now. So if they don't play BYU, that doesn't change. Just the rest of the season plays out how it's supposed to play out. And that's what we're going to look at in this video. So Cincinnati's path, first of all, they need to win out. Obviously, can't lose a game. If Cincinnati loses a game, they're done. They have no chance to make the college football playoff. So if they win out, let's look at the top 12 here. Assuming they win out, then Georgia, I think they're safe. Georgia's not going to pass Cincinnati. Indiana's not going to pass Cincinnati. So you have to worry about these other teams. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Florida, Iowa State, Miami, and Oklahoma. These are the teams that will be fighting for those 4 playoff spots. 4 spots, and you can see here, 10 teams? So 10 teams fighting for those 4 spots. Some of the teams will kind of eliminate each other, especially when you look at the Big 12, Iowa State and Oklahoma. One of those teams is going to eliminate the other, and I don't really know if either of those teams have a chance to actually pass Cincinnati. That's going to be a really interesting debate if it does come down to that. We're going to get to that. But you look at this, and you look at the teams that they're going to have to get in front of and the teams that they cannot let pass them from behind. And so what do they need to happen? First of all, they need to win out, like I said. Now, number 2, they need Alabama and Notre Dame to win out. That'll be big for them. Most of all, because that is going to knock Clemson out. It's going to give Clemson a second loss. It's going to give Florida a second loss. So we go back to the teams that knocks Clemson and knocks Florida out. Also, it knocks Miami out because Miami has no chance to pass Cincinnati. Miami's only chance is if they can sneak into the ACC championship and then beat Notre Dame. So that's really the only way Miami has a chance to pass Cincinnati. And if that happens, that would mean Clemson would have lost. And they would be out. But if you go that route, then you would potentially have a 1-loss Notre Dame, a 1-loss Miami that would both get in. So you really need Notre Dame to win the ACC if you're Cincinnati. If Clemson wins that, then you have no way to pass both of those teams. You'll only be able to pass one of those teams. So you want Notre Dame to win out, and you want Alabama to beat Florida. That takes care of Clemson, Florida, and Miami. Now we have 7 teams, and again, just 4 spots. Alabama and Notre Dame would be in that scenario. So that really gets us down to 2 spots, and we have 5 teams for those 2 spots. So up next, you would need either Texas A&M or Ohio State to lose. Obviously, it would be even better if both of these teams lost, but a more realistic scenario is one of these teams lose. So for this scenario, we're just going to say that A&M loses because they do play Auburn on the road Saturday. That's a game that they could absolutely lose. Ohio State's going to be big favorites in the rest of their games. So I think it's much more likely that A&M loses a game compared to Ohio State. Also, you would have that potential path if Ohio State can't play another game this year. If COVID messes their schedule up, that could maybe give Cincinnati a chance to pass Ohio State. I don't know if the committee would do it or not. I really don't. So there is that as well. But I think in this scenario, we're just going to get rid of Texas A&M. We say Texas A&M loses to Auburn. There will be a really good debate. If A&M does win out, Cincinnati wins out, and there is an open spot in the playoff, Will it go to A&M or will it go to Cincinnati, an undefeated conference champion, or a Texas A&M team that lost to the #1 team, but they lost by 28 points? Do you really want to see that game again? Does A&M really deserve another shot at Alabama? I think because of that, you're going to see an argument for Cincinnati, but I do think it would go to A&M in that scenario. So we're going to say they lose to Auburn this Saturday. Now we have Ohio State in this scenario. Ohio State will make it into the playoff because I've got them winning out. Obviously, if they lose, if both Ohio State and Texas A&M lose, you're in. Cincinnati is good. They will make the college football playoff. But we're going to say again, for this scenario, we're trying to go with the most likely thing that could happen. Ohio State wins, they're in, and now you've got Iowa State and Oklahoma. You have to worry about them potentially passing Cincinnati. Now, I don't know if they would. I really don't know what the committee would do in that situation. So we're going to say, though, to be sure you can get in, that you need Iowa State and Oklahoma to lose a game. One of them loses in the regular season. The other loses the conference championship game. That may not be necessary. I don't know what the committee would do, but I kind of think the committee would put a 2-loss Big 12 champion in, a team that's playing with a lot of momentum, especially like in Oklahoma, a name brand. I really think the committee might put them ahead of Cincinnati, which would, I don't think that would really be fair, especially when you look at how bad the Big 12 has been, especially in the non-conference. Remember Iowa State? They lost to Louisiana. Could we potentially see an Iowa State team that lost to Louisiana in the playoff ahead of an undefeated Cincinnati? I don't think that would be right. But let's just say they both lose a game, and then that takes care of it. And then we come back, and we've got 4 teams remaining. Cincinnati would make the college football playoff. So while it seems like it's a long shot for the Bearcats to get in, I don't think many people really give them much of a chance at all. It's really not that far-fetched to think that this team could make it into the college football playoff. Alabama is going to be favored against Florida. Notre Dame absolutely can beat Clemson again. They've done it once. They're a really good team. I know Clemson's going to be favored, but that could be a win for Notre Dame. That would knock Clemson out. And then again, A&M losing to Auburn, that's not crazy. Auburn's a tough place to play. Bo Nix plays really well at home. We all know that. A&M did not look good offensively in their last game. So that could happen. So this is what you need to happen if you're a Cincinnati fan. I just, again, don't know what they would do with the Big 12 teams. That could be something that would get in the way and cost Cincinnati a playoff spot. I think the Bearcats should go in that scenario. And that could ultimately be, so let's say everything does go their way. Bama wins. Notre Dame wins. A&M gets upset by Auburn. Everything's going their way. And then all of a sudden, Oklahoma passes Cincinnati with 2 losses. And Cincinnati does not make the college football playoff. I would be so angry if I was a Cincinnati fan if that did happen. And then what if Oklahoma did that and they got number 4 and they got blown out in the playoff again? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if that happened? Again, I think Cincinnati should go in that scenario. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. They've been really impressive this year. And again, I think if Alabama and Notre Dame win out, A&M loses this Saturday, I think Cincinnati has a shot, a real shot to make the college football playoff. Do you guys think that this could happen? Do you see another scenario? Again, Ohio State gets upset. You add that in here, Cincinnati's in. It doesn't matter about the Big 12. So there are other scenarios, but to me, this is the most likely one that could actually happen. And I think that's what you got to root for if you're a Cincinnati fan. Again, give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.